Welcome to my review of the Fiio M9 digital audio player. Fiio was kind enough to include me in the official launch tour of the M9, and this is my review, so let's get started. This is the box that it was shipped to me in. Well, there was a cardboard carton on the outside, obviously, but when I opened it, this was the box I was greeted with. It's not actually the the retail packaging would be, there would be an outer box that would have all the graphics and specs of the player and all that stuff like you'd find in a retail shop. So this would be the inner box inside of that sleeve. That's how it was shipped to me. So we open it up and we find the player wrapped in plastic, sitting inside this foam, little foam insert. And let me just make sure we're in focus. And if we pull that out, set that aside there, we find the player. And the player is a very handsome device. It's got nice weight. It's flat on one side and curved on the other. And the curved side has all the buttons and controls. At the bottom, we've got a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack that also serves as the line out and the SPDIF. And then we have a 2.5 millimeter balanced jack for balanced headphone connection. And we have a USB-C port here for charging and for data transfer and for also using this as a USB DAC with your computer. And what's interesting about this is that when you're using it as a USB DAC, you can also, at the same time this thing's being used as a DAC, it can transmit Bluetooth audio to another device. So there's a lot of utility in this thing. One thing I forgot, there are some additional things in the box, warranty cards and such, and a quick start guide. Also, there's a USB-C cable, and there is a coaxial audio adapter. So you can attach your coax cable right there, and it goes into the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So that's what's in the box. Anyway, I just want to show you, it does take a while to boot up. So there's the boot up start, and it takes about 40 seconds for this thing to go from clicking the button to being to a point where you can actually hear some music. So that was one disappointing part of this player for me. It was just how long it took to boot up. Now the saving grace to that is that you can put this unit to sleep just by clicking that power button again. You turn the screen off, you set the player down, it goes into a sleep mode. And then, you could go days and walk up to it and pick it up and hit the power button again, and it wakes right up. So you don't always have to shut it down completely. Although if you're carrying it around in a pocket or something like that, you might want to, because the button, especially when it's in its case, button gets bumped a lot. All these buttons do. And there's a way to switch these off when you're in lock screen mode, so that you're not constantly bumping these. But you can't switch this one off, and it does get bumped quite a bit. In fact, I did most of my listening without this case on because I found it a little annoying. There are probably some better casing options. Hopefully, Fiio will come up with another case for this that is a bit more forgiving on the buttons. The buttons are very easily depressed, and this case it's tight fitting against them. So there's a power button, there's the volume rocker, there's a start-stop button for starting and stopping the tracks, and there's a previous track, next track button here, sort of a rocker switch. There's a SD card slot on this side. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice. It feels good. It looks good. And you'll be happy to know it sounds good. So let's get this case off of here because it does get in the way some. So it is just clear silicon. It's not, it's pretty stiff clear silicone. There it is. So that's the case that comes with it. When it was shipped to me, it was on the player. I'm not sure if that's how it will be when you buy it from the shop, but that's how it was when it was shipped to me. We can just talk about all the different flavors of Bluetooth this thing does, because it does them all. I think this is one of the first players that actually has every version of Bluetooth. It doesn't have Bluetooth 5.0. It has Bluetooth 4.2, but it has all flavors. It has you know, SBC obviously, and aptX and aptX HD. It does LDAC, Sony's new high-res wireless format, and it also does HWA, which is a high-res wireless audio powered by LHDC, which is sort of a competitor to LDAC. So you'll find that in some competing players. Anyway, let's load this card in here. Oh, a system update is available. That's interesting. New version detected. So let's not worry about that right now. Okay, let's stop right there. What I should have done when I saw that there was a firmware update available for the M9 was stop the review, go download the firmware, load it onto the player, check out what the new features were, and then restart the review. But I didn't do that. I went and finished the review, and then I did the firmware update later. And what I found out is that Fiio, along with a lot of bug fixes in that firmware update, they've added a couple really nice new features. Let's see if I can get to them here. The first of which, you know, obviously you can connect this player via all types of Bluetooth. And it also, if you have any DLNA enabled devices on your network, you can connect via DLNA. So that's nice. But what they've added now, and this, I think you can get to it here, is AirPlay. And this is an Android device. I think this is the first Android device that I've ever seen with AirPlay. Most Android devices have Google Cast for Chromecast enabled devices, but I've never seen AirPlay on an Android device. So, you know, Apple AirPlay users rejoice. This player now has AirPlay. Also, they've added something called and I'm not sure where it is. Let me see. I looked it up, and now I don't know where it is. Fiio Link, right here. So if you turn this on, right, you're going to connect to your smartphone and use your smartphone as a remote control for the player. So like you could have your player hooked up to your home stereo system, you know, sitting on a shelf or whatever with your stereo, and you want to change track, or you want to change the volume, or you want, you know, whatever you want to do. You open up your phone and use the Fiio Music app on your phone to control the M9 remotely, wirelessly, which is a cool feature as well. So that's it for the new features. I just wanted to cut that in here real quick, and now we can get back to the review. Enjoy. So Fiio's music playing app is Fiio Music. Let's go back to home. There it is, Fiio Music. And so the first time you open that up, it actually gives you like a little tutorial about all the different gestures and things that you can use to navigate through the app. But you'll need to insert your SD card, and you'll need to scan for music. So you need to go into the settings here. And I just closed it again. Settings and scan for songs. And I did a, let me just focus there. I did a scan all when I did it. And that scans the internal memory and the SD card. There's 2 gigabytes internal memory on the player. And this is a 64 gigabyte card, so this gives you an idea of how fast it takes to scan through 64 gigabytes worth of music. And it's pretty quick. Yeah, it loads the player pretty quickly. And I've got all kinds of music on this, so I've got everything from lossy files to lossless FLAC, mostly files. And then I have some DSD, and I have some selections of high-res tracks on here as well. And I'll show you how the player handles different file formats once this thing gets loaded. And there it is. We're all loaded. Hit OK. Go back. And now we can search by whatever you like. I've searched by artist here. And you see all the variety of stuff here. Now what's interesting is, let's see. Let's find it. There's a DSD there. Let's hit this and hit play. The LED light's green here, and that green means you're listening to a DSD file. So the LED is different colors for different file formats, which is nice, so you can see at a glance what kind of a file you're playing. You know, I don't know that I really need that. I don't really care what kind of file I'm playing. I just want to listen to the music. Generally, I know what kind of file it is. It also shows you here, when it lists the songs, you'll see a little logo there. So there's a little green DSD logo there next to Harry Hippolyte's name there. And if we go back, I'll show you what it does for instance, there's some Fleet Foxes here. Let's go to, this album I know is FLAC. So we play Sunnet Rises from Fleet Foxes, and FLAC lights up, or lossless files, lossless standard res files, so that's 44.116 kilohertz files. They will light up purple. All right, and or 16-bit, 44.1 kilohertz, 16-bit files will light up purple. So that's CD quality stuff. And then if we go to Crack Up, this is a high res album I downloaded. High res lights up yellow. So this one is, we can swipe down and we can see the stats on that track. It's 96 kilohertz, 24 bits. And it shows you 3056 kilobits per second for that particular track. So you know, you get a lot of information here in just at a glance about what your music, what music you're playing, and the resolution that you're getting out of the player. And it's nice. It's nice. It's easy to navigate. Also, if you want to go back to the home screen, you swipe up from the right, like so, and it's not doing it. There it goes. Back to the home screen that way. And then, like, if you wanted to go, for instance, let's go to let's navigate by album. Steely Dan's Asia, right? Play a song here. Okay, we're in Asia, and then we want to go back one level. You swipe up from the left, and it takes you back to the tracks, or you can just use the arrow at the top of the screen. So there are a couple gestures you can use to navigate through the player like that. We'll stop that for a second. Now, one thing that I did notice, I've got the volume here. Let's see, got the volume here set at 60. Now the volume rocker, you can see there, let me get my hand out of the way. You can see, you know, you use that, it clicks. Now, one thing I don't like, when it's in my pocket, I like to be able to, like, one click is one volume level, right? Well, that doesn't always, not always true with this click wheel. One click might not always be one volume level. I just like to, I know that where 60 should be on any given set of headphones, and if I want a little bit more volume, I might like to go to 65 and just be able to go click, 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 click in my pocket, and I'm at 65, but with this wheel, you don't really know where you are when you click, 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 click on the wheel. That was one thing another thing I didn't like. The other thing is, one of my favorite pair of headphones are these Kef M9 earphones. They're a little unconventional looking, but they sound fantastic, and to me, I think they're one of the biggest bargains in personal audio right now. Yeah, actually, I think at Christmas right now, you can get them for $49, which is ridiculous. I think their regular list price is like $200. But for that money, it is an absolute no-brainer. Now, these things have an inline remote right here, okay? Now, the button, so this player is compatible with inline remotes. You have to switch it on in the menu, and now we'll show you that. So we plug this thing in. This particular headphone is a bit tight fit in this jack. I noticed right away when I was plugging in. Focus again for you there. There we go. And Now we'll go back to home. We'll go to, let's see, I think it's under the main settings. If we go to audio and then inline remote right there. You can select inline remote there and then you're compatible. Now look what's happening. I'm not touching anything and the volume is going crazy, right? This was a problem that I had when I first started reviewing this thing. This is part of the reason why my review has taken so long to get finished, because I contacted Fiio about this problem. I was doing really all my listening with these headphones because they're my favorites, and this is what was going on. The volume drifting all over the place, and it was like, you know, I'd start a track and I would set it down on the table next to me, and all of a sudden, you know, the track would stop. And I'd pick the player back up and I'd start the track again, and it would start back with volume at 120 and blow me out of the, you know, blow my ears out. So that is because, and you might run into this, I'm not saying this is going to happen with every headphone that has an inline remote, but it does have an issue with this particular pair of headphones and its inline remote. So that's something to be wary of when you, if your favorite pair of headphones have an inline remote. The solution to that is to, of course, let's go back. Oops, let me unplug this for a second because it's going to keep, the volume's going to keep jumping around on me. We go back home, we go back to settings, and we go back to audio and to inline remote, right there, and just turn it off. You know, just use this as if you don't have an inline remote, and then you won't have that problem. So if having an inline remote for stopping and starting a track or going to previous or next tracks is a, you know, you have to have that. You may want to test it out with your headphones before you buy this, because that problem was driving me crazy for a while until I figured it out. But now that it's figured out, you know, I've really enjoyed this player. It's been really nice, really nice. I was going to show you something else here. Just a second. Oh yeah, so it comes with these apps installed, and Tidal is one of those apps, right? But you can also, there's certain apps that are whitelisted by Fiio for this player. And Spotify is one of them. So I managed to download Spotify. Now it's not straightforward. You can't go, it does this app does run a version of Android. It's a very customized version, audio optimized version of Android. But you cannot use the Play Store to download whatever music app you might like best. So there are only certain apps that work. Tidal is one of them, comes preloaded. There's also a Korean, I think it's Korean, might be this one here. Yeah, what is that? I don't know what that is because I don't read Korean or whatever that might be. Let's go back. So that, I think that was NetEase Music. There's another one down here called Move. That one is in a foreign language as well. KKBox, I think, is the Korean one. That one is also foreign language, and it doesn't work in the US, so there's really no reason to have this on a US player. If your URL, you know, if you're logging onto Wi-Fi in the United States, you won't even be able to access any of the tracks on these sites. So another thing you can download is a different version of a file explorer. It comes with this file management program, which I think is adequate. You don't really need ES File Explorer, but if it's something you're used to using on your Android phone, you know, that might be something nice for you to have. But actually, I'll show you Tidal here real quick. It works. It's pretty smooth, actually. I'm not a big fan of Tidal. Mainly because, you know, when I call up Tidal, I'm not a big rap or R&B fan, and it seems like that's what Tidal features the most, which kind of, you know, it makes sense. Jay-Z owns the company, so he has lots of Beyonce and his friends at on the front page. But I find it hard to find the music that that I would be interested in on Tidal. It just is not the friendliest UI for me. Now, you may love it, you may disagree. And I'm not going to pay 20 bucks a month for the high res either. So, but I did do a 1 month for $9.99 just to prove the title worked with the player, and it does. It works fine. We're on the internet now, and there we go. Steven Wilson is playing Don't Hate Me off of his 4.5 album. So yeah, it works fine. And if this was a high-res track, if I had done the 20 bucks a month, you know, this little logo down here would be lit saying hi-fi. But I did not do that, so this is a standard res track. Anyway, so that's title. It works well. These gestures aren't working very well right now. There we go. And yeah, that's good. Now, what you're going to want to know is, how does it sound? It sounds very good. If you had a Fiio player before, you know Fio's house sound is you know, the warm side of neutral. I would say that there's a slight emphasis on the mid-bass section, which gives vocals really nice presence. Treble doesn't ever seem to get harsh to me, which is great because I'm particularly sensitive to sibilant and harsh treble. Yeah, it sounds smooth and warm and you know, for lack of a better term, musical. I wouldn't call it an audiophile player in the sense that it's not overly analytical. This is a very musical player, and you know, it lets me. That's what I want when I'm listening to music. I don't want to be listening to the gear. I want to listen to the music. And if a player can get out of the way and make the music enjoyable, well, then that's the player for me. And to me, this player does a great job of that. So at $299, Fiio, I think, have a hit on their hands. This is a really, really nice player. It takes a couple knocks from me for the inline remote compatibility and for the silicone case that it comes with, which I just don't think is of very good quality and kind of hampers the operability of this device. But other than that, good job, Fiio. I don't have any balanced headphones to try with it. I will soon, but I don't have them here now. There is a high gain and a low gain setting on this, so I find that these KEF headphones, even though their impedance isn't very high, for whatever reason they perform much better on high gain. These are earphones that seem like the harder you push them, the better they sound. So I've been listening to them at high gain, but my Etymotics I listen to at low gain. They sound beautiful. They're my reference. And then I have a pair of Sennheiser HD600s, which I plugged in and had to listen to for a short time at high gain. It drove them with plenty of power, not as well as my tube setup, but you know, and I don't know if you'd really be using HD600s on a portable setup anyway. So you know, it's kind of a non-issue. And then I have also some high impedance, some 250 ohm. Biodynamic HD or Biodynamic DT250s, which I love. Those are the headphones that I keep at my nightstand. And by the way, you know, this thing is a great portable. It's a great desktop amp. It can be used with your computer as a standalone USB, or it can be used as a USB sending Bluetooth to another device. You know, you can plug this into a pair of powered speakers, and it's a great desktop system. You can use this with your home setup, run it through the big stereo, use it as a transport, you know, playing digital files into your home system. It does a lot. It does an awful lot, and it's compatible with Sony's LDAC high-res Bluetooth headphones, and also the new HWA headphones that should be coming out. I haven't seen too many of them yet, but HWA headphones with LHDC built in, and yeah. $299. I say, go get one. All right, so that's it. That's my review of the M9. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.